My new Grizzly saw came with a 40-tooth carbide blade that you can see there, and didn't quite give a really perfect cut, so I decided to try one of these new Freud P410 Premiere Fusion blades, and this is my first impression. I started by taking a piece of 2-inch walnut and making a couple of cuts with the OEM blade that came with the saw. And this is the first rip cut that I made, and as you can see, there are saw marks here. It's not really a perfectly smooth surface. You can actually feel the saw marks. There's very little tear out or chipping or anything, but there are some saw marks of varying degrees. And then I just took that same block and I did a cross cut on it to try to get a baseline for that, and that actually came out pretty good. There's a little bit of tear out on the edges and the bottom and top, but it's really not super bad. You could live with it if you wanted to. So then I went through and I decided to change the blade. Now that riving knife can be a little tough to get out at times. Really have to unlock it and then yank on it. And I like to put that little lock in the switch that they give you whenever you're touching the blade on this saw. It's really a safety interlock and it does work good, so I always install that. And just a matter of removing the nut and getting the old blade off. Now I think I'll just put this old blade aside and just keep it for cutting like MDF and particle board, stuff like that. That's really nasty on a blade. But there it is. As you can see, there's very little clearance and it kind of rubs on the teeth. Now here's the new Premiere Fusion. I picked this up off of Amazon. They had some really good pricing on it, and it had a lot of good reviews, so I decided to give it a try. It came packaged well and got it in a couple days, so I'm happy with that. First thing I noticed on this is that the teeth are basically razor sharp compared to the blade that came on the saw. They have like a triple grind on them, and every one of them is just mirror finish, ground perfect, and razor sharp. So back to the saw and just put it back on the washer and the nut, and then tighten it up, and we're just about ready to go. And in the future, I do have to build a zero clearance insert for this because it's so easy for a piece to slide down that beside that insert and get caught in the actual sawdust guard down below. So with the new blade installed, I took that same 2-inch piece of walnut and decided to go back and do the same cuts. First I did a rip cut along the length of it, and as you can see in the next photos, there still are some really minor marks here and there, but basically it's a glass smooth finish with no tear out, no chipping or anything. But you can see, in the right light, you can see a couple little grooves, but you just can't feel them. Then I went back and I did the same cross cut. And the results were better with the cross cut too. If you look, you see there's just a little tiny bit of fuzz on the bottom of the cross cut. Very zero tear out basically. And the edges of the cut were all sharp. There's just a scrap piece that's cut off. And it was basically a very smooth cut. That one had a couple saw marks from where it bounced and hit the saw after it was cut. Then I just went back and I, grabbed a 1-inch piece of ash to try and cross-cut that and just see what the results were. And it did a really nice glass smooth cut on that. You could, if you got it in the right light, you could notice a couple of really fine marks in it. But there was just one little burning section at the beginning of the cut that I have to, see if I can figure out what caused that. But basically, all in all, it did a real nice job. Very little tear out on the ash also. And I think it's going to be a good blade. Time will tell, and I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.